You are at a Nomadic Network event. Welcome. TNN, as we so affectionately call it, is founded by Nomadic Matt, began in 2019. We've hosted hundreds of virtual events. Now we're back to hosting in person where we want to put the emphasis. So we have tons of chapters all around the globe. We literally have a new website as well. So I encourage you to go check it out. Here's where you can follow us, follow all the cool tips we have. We have all the group trips for 2023 up. We have all kinds of presentations. We have book club, local city meetings, these bigger presentations where a subject matter expert like Amena comes in and, shares her knowledge with you all. A few little reminders. I kind of already went through these, but please stay muted. If you have a question, we're totally going to answer questions. Amena and I, we're going to pull your questions out of the chat at the end. So go ahead and drop your question in the chat. Try to preface it with questions so I can find it a little bit easier. And the speakers are doing this out of the kindness of their heart, and they're donating their time and their knowledge. We love learning from them. So the least we'd love for you to do is give them a follow, sign up for their newsletter, check out their website, follow them on your favorite platform, DM them, tell them thank you, and let's have a good time. This is a good one. We got a pretty good big crowd here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then Amena, I'm going to turn it over to you if you wanted to give a grand introduction of yourself.
I was on mute, of course. Thank you, Leah. I'm Amena Bakali. A little bit about me. I am a Dallas native. I actually ran into Erica Hackman at the last TravelCon in Memphis, and just been working on this for the last few months. And so really excited to be here. Thank you for this platform, and just looking forward to staying in touch with all of you.
Sweet. Amena, I just made you co-host as well, so you should have screen sharing capabilities and everything. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Y'all are seeing the housekeeping stuff we get done before we let you in. So thanks for bearing with us.
Okay, do you see my screen here?
Yep, all good.
Are you seeing, I'm trying to I don't know what's happening here. Okay, there. There we go. So welcome everyone. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the evening. Been working on this with some time with Erica. And again, thank you for the platform, Nomadic Network. Just a little bit more about me. Like I said, I'm a Dallas native. I was born and raised here. I am a mom of 3, wife of 17 years. I'm a recent master's graduate from UPenn. I graduated last year with my master's in nonprofit leadership. So my background is originally in the nonprofit social impact space. I've always just had a passion for travel, and kind of been doing this for, I want to say, close to 6 years. I love points and miles. It helps us travel the world. I am a family travel enthusiast and currently a travel content creator. And these are some of the places that Points and Miles have helped us go in the last year or two. We spent a month in Europe last summer, Spain, France, Turkey, with the whole family. We have some upcoming trips coming up that we're super excited about: Bahamas, the Emirates, and a little bit more of Europe. So that's just a little bit on my background. I wasn't always into this. I think we all kind of start with some level of hesitancy, and then just realize that if we wanted to travel more and explore more, just kind of fell into our lap one day. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later as to how we got started. So what exactly is travel hacking? And I think there's so much confusion on, is it a scam? Is it a myth? Like, what exactly is it? The art of travel hacking, or the hobby of travel hacking, basically is where you are using points and miles that you earn from credit card bonuses or credit card signups, or just from everyday spend, monthly expenses, groceries, and there's so many words used for that as well. It's basically award travel. You're booking flights or hotels using points and miles that are earned from respective credit cards, and that can also be referred to as travel hacking or award travel. The bulk of your points, they will come from credit card bonuses, but that's not the end all be all. I think it's those monthly expenses, that regular spend, you really have to hone in on that as well, because whether it's shopping or dining or groceries, unfortunately, those expenses are not going to go away. And we'll talk later in the presentation as to how to maximize that spend as well. But the last part I just kind of wanted to hone in on is that if you are making a purchase of any kind or paying bills, the best way to continue to earn points and miles is by not using cash or not using a debit card, unless you have to first. I know there's those situations where you just have to, but for the most part, putting that on a credit card that will earn you points and miles for travel. Excuse me. So over the years, I've come to realize that there's three pillars, what I call three pillars of travel hacking. It's mindset, financial discipline, and strategy. I truly believe that if you change the way you think about your expenses, this can be really beneficial for you and your loved ones, and however your travel lifestyle in general. While you should always have a budget regardless, because again, even if you have your flights covered or even if you have your hotels covered, there are still expenses that come with travel. But again, it just goes back to that mindset of, hey, I have to pay bills. I have to have these normal expenses. How can I benefit from these things that I cannot avoid or that I cannot change? And it just goes back to, why not charge those or make those purchases on a credit card that earns you travel rewards? And those travel rewards, they're essentially, what are they? Points and miles that help you travel, sometimes even travel more for less. Financial discipline. I feel like it's very easy, I guess, in the beginning to be a little bit nervous, and rightfully so when it comes to credit cards. But I try to remind myself and everyone else, like my clients as well, in consultations, that always put the level of accountability on yourself. So what do I mean by that? If you are not in the habit of paying your bills on time, if you carry over balances, this is not for you. You need to first make sure that you are able to stick to a budget, you are able to pay your bills in full, and then start travel hacking. Credit cards, and that's where like the bad, when I said the good, the bad, and everything in between, that's where the bad comes in. I know some people, they can be very great with debit cards, but when it comes to credit cards, they don't know what happens and they'll spend more. Excuse me. Travel hacking is only bad if you don't have that financial discipline. But if you do, it can be very, very rewarding, especially as we see travel these last year or two, it's only getting more expensive. And the last part, sorry, my screen keeps a little freezing up on me, strategy. Develop and maintain a credit card strategy. It takes time to build that, and there's no right or wrong to this. If you are able to use points and miles in a way that works for you, then that's fine. At the end of the day, sometimes we get caught up in, is this the best for me? Is this the best redemption? Is this the best value for my points? Do not worry about that when you're initially considering all this. Basically, you are trying to make travel more feasible for you. You are trying to cut down travel costs. So don't worry about any of that initially on. Just have that mindset, be in that financial discipline, and strategy will come to you later on as you start realizing, focus on your expenses. Like where does your money mostly go? Is it in dining? Is it in groceries? What is it? And that's where flexible rewards currency or points and miles earned from bank cards, that's where that comes in. Because as you look at your expenses, you'll realize, okay, this card gives me a certain number back on my expenses. This card gives me, you start honing in on, okay, I'm spending a lot on dining this past year, or groceries, or whatever it may be. And again, flexible rewards currency, we refer to that. That's basically any currency that's earned from banks like Chase, Citi, Capital One. I kind of recommend that if you're new to this and if you kind of don't know where to start, kind of stick to those kind of bank cards, for example. So why travel hack? Why should we do it? Well, like I said earlier, responsible credit card usage definitely has its rewards. You save a lot of money on travel. I have to admit, we were actually very hesitant at first because who wants to deal with another thing to keep track of? But again, if you're in that mindset, if you are financially disciplined, you can save a lot, even if it's just you, or especially if you have a family. How do you get started? You know, sometimes we have a place in mind, so you can work backwards. I personally, what I do is sometimes I have a place in mind, sometimes I don't. I start with Google Flights, let's say, for example. That is the best place to start. I hone in on, okay, in this time I want to go there, and I work backwards from there. I also keep in mind that, let's say I am part of a family of 5, so I know that I have to start a lot earlier on than someone who just has to do maybe 1 or 2 people. We were talking a little bit about flexible rewards currency, Chase, Citi, Capital One, American Express. Many of you may be familiar with those cards anyway. That's a great place to start. Why is that? It's because they have multiple airline and hotel partners that you can transfer your points to, as opposed to, let's say, you get a card with Hilton, or you get a co-branded, those are called co-branded cards with like a respective airline or a respective hotel. If you're new to this, you kind of don't know where to start, always start with Chase. Is a great place to start for beginners because you are able to transfer your points to respective airlines, to respective hotels, and get great redemptions that way. And another thing, the last point I wanted to also mention is that plan in advance, especially now we're going in the holidays, it's going to fly by. Plan ahead, because points and miles travel or award travel, that award availability is hard to find. A lot of airlines do have limited availability on that as well. So like a general rough timeline I try to tell people, and it may sound crazy, is to plan 6 to 9 months ahead. Because the more seats you need, the harder it is to get. And the best deals, especially the best award seats, are found very early on. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. There's just rather preferred ways. Like, for example, some people might get a Chase card, right? And you might have these 60, 80,000 points, for example. If you end up booking something in the travel portal itself, like in Chase Bank or Citibank's in their travel portal, that's okay. That's not a big deal. You are just trying to get your travel as close to zero as possible, and that's fine. That may not be ideal long term, but again, there's no right or wrong. And if it works for you, then it's a great redemption. So some travel hacking myths I wanted to address, and I used to believe a lot of these myself as well. People think that you're spending thousands of dollars to earn those thousands of points, or maybe people who travel hack end up going in debt, or it's too good to be true, it's a scam, or opening up too many credit cards is going to lower your credit score, it's not worth it, it's too hard to keep track of it. Yes, there is a level of organization and discipline involved, but doesn't that go for almost anything we do? It's too good to be true. I think if you're able to get past this, especially as you make that first redemption or that second redemption, you start realizing that yes, there is an art, there is a strategy, there's a level of organization, but you are saving a lot of money when you travel. And it's not just that, travel hacking can also be part of your wealth building strategy as well. And again, it's important to understand that kind of relates back to your mindset. You are simply spending money that you already would be. You're just changing how you pay for your bills or how you pay for your expenses. If you're already in the habit of paying your bills on time, no exceptions, you're cutting down on those travel costs, then travel hacking can truly be beneficial for you and your family. You're charging on a card or respective cards that are earning you more travel geared rewards, as opposed to, let's say, cash back or something else. And that's truly where I feel the in-between comes in, is having that organization, slowly building that strategy, and really honing in on that financial discipline. So let's get a little bit deeper into strategy. What's a good place to start? I truly feel that Chase Ultimate Rewards, they're really great for beginners. There's some great cards out there, and it's not just about that. They also make redemptions pretty easy. Redemptions meaning once you earn the points, you can book in the portal, or you can also transfer them out to respective partners like Southwest, Hyatt, United, Marriott, or whatnot. Each bank has its own set of airline or hotel travel partners, and sometimes they can overlap as well. Let's say you got a card. A lot of questions I get is, what do I do? I got this card, I used up the bonus. After the first year, what do I do? Do I cancel it, whatnot? No, don't ever cancel it, because that can hurt your score more. The strategy is always to stick to cards where you can continue even after you use the initial bonus, right? We use that 60,000, we use that 8,000, now what? That's why Chase is so good, is because just for everyday spend, for groceries, for dining, and it's not just Chase, there's other cards as well. I'm using Chase as an example because it's a great place to start for beginners. But that's where really knowing your monthly expenses comes in, is that, let's say I'm earning this much back on a particular type of expense. So that's where we hold on to the respective cards. And the longer you keep the card, it's better for you. Now, there might be times where you need to evaluate 1 year or 2 year, and you might feel like, okay, well, I've used the points and that card is not beneficial to me. That's where you downgrade to a card from that bank that doesn't have a fee, because yes, your annual fee for that card needs to justify all the benefits, and the benefits need to justify the annual fee on the card. Like I said, keep the card or downgrade. Don't cancel it, because that's worse for your credit or your overall score. The last point is more personal for me. I'm personally wary of applying for the airline or hotel branded cards. Sometimes it's easy to get shiny new card syndrome, is what they say. And there's this new Marriott card, or there's this new Hilton card, and it's like this amazing offer. But I don't generally recommend that unless you have a plan. Because what will happen is that you'll use that over the next few months, you'll meet the bonus, you'll get the points, and then if you don't know how to use it, you'll be stuck with these points, which can expire. I know the last year or so with the pandemic, sometimes now they're a little bit more generous, but generally speaking, points can and do expire. So that's just something to keep in mind, that especially if you go for those branded cards, kind of have a tentative plan, look at some places, look at how you want to use those hotel points, look at how you want to use those airline points. That's generally what I do before I kind of get one. Also, just another thing to keep in mind is that what I've seen just in my own experience of travel hacking is that it can definitely help increase your score if you're keeping those 3 pillars in mind of your mindset, your financial discipline, and then having that strategy. And what I mean for that, especially, it's the financial discipline. If you're paying your bills on time, your score actually increases. In the short term, it does decrease because every time you get an inquiry or a hit on your credit report. But generally speaking, if you're in that habit of paying everything on time, not carrying over balances, it will increase your score. And that will make you increase that likelihood of getting approved for, let's say, another offer that comes out in the future. So these are some mistakes that I made very early on. I would not want anyone else to make them. And if I had to start all over, this is what I would do. And again, this is also respective to my experience with family travel hacking. I would start with Chase Ultimate Rewards. Again, it's also known as one of the flexible rewards currency. Your points are your earned points, or even your bonus points, they're with a bank. They're not tied with a hotel or with an airline. That way, if you're unsure of how to use points, how to make bookings, you have more flexibility there. You can transfer to a hotel, or you can transfer to an airline, or you can even simply start by booking in the bank portal. Again, long term, that's not ideal, but there's a learning curve, and that's completely fine. Don't close out an account too soon. I've done this very early on. Got a card, let's say, for example, Hilton, I can't remember at this point, it was a couple years back, and used the bonus points, and then I closed it. And that actually impacts your credit more. And what should I have done? I should have downgraded to one that with a no fee. Because now looking forward, sometimes we travel and we stay at these respective Hilton or Marriott, and that way you can kind of bulk up, on those points that way, where if you're staying at a respective property, let's say Hilton property or Marriott, you can charge it on that card and you continue building points and it doesn't hurt your credit score. Don't jump on every great offer that comes your way. Like I said, sometimes we get those targeted offers. Sometimes we get, we hear about some best friend applying for this amazing card. Don't go for every offer unless you can say you understand it, especially if it's co-branded with an airline or a hotel, and you kind of understand, you kind of have an idea like, hey, I want to take this trip maybe next summer or maybe in the spring. And I think, if I got this Hilton card or if I got this Marriott card, I think I could really make use of the points, for example. If you have a player two, like we say in travel hacking, it can be a spouse or another loved one or a sibling. Strategize around that, especially when it comes to your whole credit card and your whole financial strategy. Like, for example, for me, my husband travels a lot for work. So we're very strategic about our spend, what spend we do regularly and what spend we do, let's say, when he's traveling. A lot of times we love staying with Hyatt's, for example, but a lot of times that might not be available to him for whatever reason. And so that's where some of the cards that maybe we don't use on a regular basis, they come in. And he just stayed at a Hilton recently. He made sure that it was on his Hilton card, and because he was gone for about a week, it was a good bulk of Hilton points right there. Understand your credit report before it's explained to you. I think a lot of times we might go for a card, we might not get it, and we might get rejected. And then it's like, well, I don't understand. I recently had this, someone was telling me that my credit score is excellent. I keep getting rejected. I don't know what's going on. Now, again, I am not a financial advisor by any means, but I think really take out some time to maybe talk to a professional, or even just go through your credit report or talk to the bank. There's reconsideration lines. They normally send you a reason by email. You can call and kind of try to figure out what is going on. Why did I not get accepted? Did I apply too soon? Certain banks have different rules, and we'll get into that later on as well. Just kind of try to understand that before you get an answer for an application that maybe you don't like, or maybe you didn't anticipate. The last point is probably the most important. Continue to keep a travel budget. Travel hacking does not make travel free. And I cannot reiterate that enough. There will still be miscellaneous expenses. There will still be miscellaneous costs. You still have to pay taxes and fees on hotels and airlines. So continue to keep that travel budget. The whole point is that you're trying to, you're not going to be able to eliminate the cost, unfortunately, but you're trying to bring it as close to zero as you can. But just continue to hold on and stay within that travel budget. These are some of the bank rules, and I know sometimes they can get pretty confusing. I know a lot of people might be familiar with Chase's rule. You may or may not. That's perfectly okay. Well, I'll just generally run through these, but let's quickly go through these. Chase has a rule where it's called 524. You cannot open 5 or more personal credit cards across all the banks. It's not just with them. It's for across all the banks in the last 24 months. And they are actually known to be more picky, more particular about this. So if you do, I always recommend try to stay under 524. So if you apply for a card and you don't realize and you're already at 524, they will not approve you. And it's not just for them, that's just across all the banks. Citi, you can only get, and Citi is a little weird too. It's called like their 8-65-95 rule. You can only get 1 card a week and no more than 2 cards every month. These are just general rules. Sometimes they can kind of vary. And like I said, Citi has been known to deny customers who apply too soon. So just kind of be mindful of that. Business cards have their own rule. They're not applicable, or they don't always fall under, they don't fall under the 524 rule for Chase. Just kind of wanted to add that on. Capital One, you can only get approved for one card every 6 months. And they can also be kind of strict. I had one client recently saying that, again, they have great credit and then they didn't get approved. So they tried calling, kind of walking through, and then they got reconsidered. And for Capital One, this applies to both their personal and their business cards. Amex is weird too. Apparently they restrict it, and they have it where it's just a welcome offer on just once per lifetime. But then rumor has it that lifetime is like 7 years. So again, these are just kind of general rules. You know, just take it with a grain of salt. You'll find similar language across all of on all the Amex cards, for example. So if you have, like for Amex, if you have like a particular card or you've had it, you're technically not eligible to earn the welcome offer again. So, and like I was saying, you'll find similar language on application pages for like all of their cards. So it could be like the co-branded cards. It could be just be the straight up Amex cards as well. And I kind of just wanted to briefly share what goes into your credit score. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but it is important to kind of understand, you know, what makes it up. Payment history, credit utilization. You want to keep that rate low. How long you've held certain cards. That's the length of your credit history, your credit mix, and then just recent applications. You want to make sure you're not just applying for different cards, not understanding why you got approved for one and then not approved for another, kind of wanting to space it out and really having a method and a strategy. Again, the payment history is honestly, it's, from my experience, I think it's the most important. You want to be seen as reliable. You want to be seen as, you'll be able to pay back your debt on time. And that's especially important when you're considering new credit. They'll see, can you pay your bills back on time? How much of a risk are you? Amounts owed, for example, if you're using too much of your available credit, you could also be considered a high risk borrower. Credit history, generally speaking, the longer you hold on to a card, for example, the better it looks, because it just shows that you're reliable. You've been paying bills on time. You've been keeping that account open and active, and whether you're using it or not. Here are some resources for award travel. And I want to say, unless it's otherwise stated, most of these, if not all, I think Award Hacker is only one, they're all paid resources. Basically, what they do is they will help you book award travel. So basically, you can go to them and say, hey, I have points and miles with respective hotels or respective airlines or across different banks. How can I help me use them? I don't know which airline to book, or I don't know which hotel to book. Can you help me make sense of that? So Award Wallet, it's basically a service that helps keep track of all your loyalty points, including your frequent flyer miles, your dining, your shopping rewards. Award Hacker, it's free. It can limit your search to specific airline programs or flexible currency programs. And the limit comes because it'll tell you how many miles you need, but it's not going to tell you the taxes, the fees, and certain airlines like fuel surcharges. And it won't always show you availability. So you have to also keep that in mind as well. Point.me, it's a service. It'll search over like 30 programs and over 100 airlines, and it'll just show you like the best availability across the board. There's also Expert Flyer and Thrifty Traveler. Expert Flyer, you can basically, you set alerts for certain flights you might be keeping an eye out on. And it tells you if seats are available, or if it's not, you can search by the route. And this program has like a monthly or a yearly subscription as well. The last one, Thrifty Traveler, it's also a subscription-based service, and that includes like both cheap cash deals as well as points deals. Now, again, the point at the bottom, just do remember there is also individual travel content creators that also offer booking services, or whether it's one of these respective services, it could easily cost you a couple $100, let's say per person, per flight, to help book that. And also rightfully so, because as someone who's been booking award travel for my family the last couple of years, and especially now we're a family of 5, I can tell you it takes a lot of time and a lot of research to do that. So it completely makes sense why there would be a charge as well. So how can you stay organized? That's another popular question I get. I have 1, 2, or 3 cards. I want to be organized. When are my annual fees due? When do I have to meet the minimum spend by? This is where Travel Freely can come in. I have been using Travel Freely, I want to say, for about a year now. And I recently became a partner with them as well. It's an online resource. It's a free app and online resource. It just basically allows you to keep all your credit cards organized in one place. And it's a great application, starting with the benefits. It's free. I love that. It just allows you to keep track of all your credit cards in one place. You're able to mark if you've met a minimum spend. You're able to put in both, husband, wife, all your cards, your personal cards, your business cards. It also sends you like email reminders as well. Hey, you have a bonus deadline coming up. This is when an annual fee is due. I'll also recommend, hey, if you are looking to apply for your next credit card, and again, it gives you general recommendations, like, obviously don't go in like 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out. Hey, it's been 90 days, it's been 3 months, or it's been 4 months. Here are some, best offer recommendations for you if you want to apply for a new credit card. And one reason the main reason why I really love using Travel Freely is because even if they don't have the best offers, where like even if they don't earn a commission, they'll share the best offers. So Amex is a great example of this, where sometimes you'll find, whether it's like a personal link, like a personal referral link, has a higher increased offer than, let's say, an affiliate link. Affiliate link sometimes can maybe show, let's say, 90K or 100K or 120, and you can go to someone who has Amex, get a personal referral link, and Travel Freely will share those personal referral links, and they won't earn anything from that, but that personal referral link could show you 150K, for example. So that's one thing I really love about them, is that transparency on that part, is that they will truly share the best offers. So how do I book award travel? I get this question a lot as well. What's my booking strategy? I always start by checking Google Flights. Sometimes I have a place in mind, sometimes I don't. So I kind of see, let's say I have a destination in mind. I kind of see, okay, what airline is going there? What airline will take me there for the respective time frame that I want to go. And then I kind of work backwards from there. I say, okay, if this airline is going to the destination that I want to go to, let's say in the spring or summer, do I have points with that airline? Or do I have bank points or a respective bank card that can help me transfer points to that airline and get me those flights that I need? I also look at hotel options. I do that secondary, because for me personally, securing 5 flights is a little bit harder than maybe getting 1 or 2 hotel rooms, So after I've secured flights, then I look at, I look for the availability for hotels, but generally speaking, I'll book the hotel afterwards. I'll see what hotel options I have, or maybe what Airbnb options I have. Like I said, it's harder for me to find those, 5 award seats, but it's also a good idea also, because you could also have points left over. Let's say if you have a respective bank card, if you are using something on the regular, to also look out for those stay options as well, to see, hey, do I have enough points to cover a hotel, or do I need to figure out another way, or another Airbnb or whatnot? That may require additional card, or also a mix of points and cash. And then you can book that award travel. Like I've stated, the sooner you do it, the better. The general time frame I like to tell people is 6 to 9 months, or sometimes even longer, like 9 to 12 months out. And you'll find, and I know that tends to kind of scare some people at times, but generally speaking, from what I've seen, it's a little bit easier if you had to make a change when it comes to like points and miles, as opposed to cash. Now, again, this has just been my respective experience. So I'm also, when I am booking trips on points, I'm very mindful of the rules around cancellation or changes, and what risk or charges or whatever it may be that I'm willing to take if something were to happen and I had to change or cancel. And I just wanted to add, if you don't always have a specific place in mind, that's again where flexibility, or especially those and earning flexible rewards currency, is key, because you continue to earn points, let's say with your Chase card or with your Citi card or with Capital One. And as you build that in bulk, you'll be like, okay, hey, I have a good amount of points. Let's see where those points can take me. And that's fine too. You just have to remember being a little bit flexible. And especially if we're all looking to travel during those high seasons like spring break or Thanksgiving break or Christmas, that's another reason why planning ahead is key, especially when it comes to finding award seats. So, how do you make the most of your points? Now, again, I want to start by saying that, or reiterate and say, there's no right or wrong way to do this. There are just more preferred ways or more ideal ways. I personally would not advise to redeem for cash back. You can, it's not the best value for your points. You could get cash back, let's say a few $100s, but you could easily transfer those points to an airline partner or a hotel partner, and let's say get multiple award tickets for 3, 4, 5 people, let's say in your family. And that's what leads into the second point is, again, if you book directly with an airline or hotel travel partner, as opposed to, let's say I have Chase points, I go to the Chase travel portal and I found these flights and it works in my points, well, that's great. But if you compare it to going directly and transferring those points directly to the airline, you'll always, generally speaking, more often than not, you'll get a better deal. I recently booked a Hyatt in the Bahamas, and I did just a comparison just to see, and let's say in the Chase's bank portal, it was costing me, let's say 90,000 points, right? But what I did instead, obviously, I transferred my Chase points to Hyatt. And when I booked the same room for 4 nights with Hyatt directly, I got it for 60,000 points. So you kind of see it's like it was easily a 30,000 point difference, which it's like, well, why should I spend 30 additional points booking it in the bank portal when I can just book it directly? And the last point, I wouldn't necessarily advise redeeming with other retail partners. Sometimes you can, use it for all sorts, like there's like PayPal or Walmart. It just depends on the bank, whether it's Chase or Citi or Capital One, Amex. A lot of times they have partnerships with other retailers, and they say, Amazon or PayPal or whatnot. You can use points and you can help cover those purchases. Now, if that's something that's important to you, that's definitely fine. But ideally, long term, I wouldn't recommend that because you're not going to get the best value for your points. Now, there's certainly times when you may decide that you want to do one of these things, if not all. And again, if it works for you, if it helps you cut down on your costs and overall expenses, then that's fine. That makes it a great redemption for you. So these are just some ways to continue to earn points without always having to think, hey, do I always need to continue signing up for a credit card? While you will, yes, you will earn a bulk of your points from credit cards, that's not the end all be all. I think, again, we have to hone in on our monthly expenses. Where am I spending on dining or shopping or groceries or whatnot, right? American Airlines shopping portals. That's a great place. I recently did some shopping at, I can't remember, I believe it was like Sephora or Clinique or something. Totally forgot, realized that I could have had X number of points there. So it's just times like that where you're making these online purchases, not even thinking twice on your phone. It's late. If you just had done it through the shopping portal, you could have been earning points. Delta also has their own version of Sky Miles shopping. Promotional offers. For example, we use Instacart on the regular. If you go under promotional offers on the Instacart app, Instacart has a partnership with Delta. If you link your Instacart and Delta accounts, you can earn Delta miles for shopping. I believe I've already earned, once I linked it, I just saw the promotion is recent, so I've already earned like 10, 11,000 points just because we use Instacart so regularly. Every week, once a week, we're using Instacart. There's another example like Marriott and Uber. If you Uber a lot, you can link your Marriott and Uber accounts and you can earn Marriott points on rides or even on Uber Eats on food. I believe it's like 3 times on rides and anywhere from like 2 to 6 times on food. Rotating bonus categories, that can also be a big one. Like, for example, there's Chase Freedom Flex. It's a cashback card. It's not travel aimed per se, but they have great, every quarter they have rotating categories. So let's say this quarter 4, Walmart and PayPal. And what do I mean by that? It's like if you shop at Walmart or use PayPal, you'll get 5% cash back, or it's basically 5 points per dollar on purchases that you make when you use these stores and services. And by rotating every quarter, they have different categories. So one quarter it could be more on gas, one quarter it could be more on shopping, the next quarter could be more on dining, just places like that. A lot of hotels recently I've seen are doing bonus point promotions. So I think Hyatt has like a bonus journeys. If you stay at Hyatt for, between X, Y, and Z time frame, for example, you'll earn, X number of points, or you can double your points. And it can be as simple as going online, making an account with Hyatt, and you don't have to have a card for any of these when it comes to the hotels. Hilton also has something like double your stay promos, where I think if you're a Hilton Honors member, how do you do that? You just go online, make a Hilton Honors account, and if you stay during a respective time frame at, let's say, qualifying properties, they'll have like a list on their website, and you can just earn, like, let's say 2,000 or 3,000, whatever their respective number of points may be. Now, I know in the big picture, it may not seem like a lot, but if you were to just make online accounts with these respective hotels over time, let's say whether you are traveling for work or traveling personally, it easily adds up, because, hey, why miss out on points and miles? I wanted to share some personal redemptions that I've made just in the past year on points and miles. During spring break, we went to Costa Rica with the family. We love Southwest, so our flights were on Southwest. I don't want to go through each one. I don't want to run over on time. So our flight could have been over, for all 4 of us, the little one is still free, would have been over $2,500, but we just paid less than $400 in taxes. And we used a vacation rental credit from one of our cards to help cover the Airbnb. We were in Seattle through the summer, similar thing. We went on United Airlines. We just paid just $44 in taxes, and we stayed at Hyatt for 3 nights, and that covered our hotel stay. We have the Bahamas coming up. This vacation would have cost us over $5,000, and we have paid just $1,200 out of pocket. My husband and I will be going to Morocco in December. We would have paid easily $4,000 for flights. We paid less than $300 in taxes on American Airlines. We used Marriott, or we're using, Marriott points for the hotel stay. $1,500 would have been the cost for the hotel. Next year, spring break, we're going to London. We booked it on an airline that we're excited to try, Singapore Airlines. Again, we earned points, let's say, with a respective bank, and I transferred those points. In this case, it was Singapore Airlines, and I have paid less than $500 out of pocket. I also do provide consultations. So I know some of this information I might have skimmed through, or, if you have further questions, I would be happy to work with you guys on a one-on-one basis, just to help answer more award travel related questions. Again, I'm not a travel booking service nor a financial advisor. I do want to just put that out there, but this is just from my own research, personal expertise, and experiences. And if you're a TNN member, you will receive a 50% discount. Just please make sure to reach out to me within the week. And this is where you can find me on the web. I am the one that answers all the messages in email or Instagram, or even on my website. So I'm happy to talk to you guys, kind of get more inspiration for future travels, and just kind of be able to help answer any award travel questions you may have. So that's it for me, Leah.
Thank you so much, Amna. I am trying to drop your information in the chat the chat right now.
I hope we're good on time. So
Oh yeah,
apologies if
no,
I
we're
kind
totally
of
fine.
ran over. I was trying not to take too long.
No, this is it's so insane because everyone is on like a different level of travel hacking, right? Like me transfer point, I'm like, I don't know any of this stuff. Just trying to get the basics down. So it's so helpful. And I love how the chat is super interactive too. So thank you to those dropping questions and answering other people's questions in the
Sorry if
chat.
I took that away. Should I have left that last screen on?
Oh, yeah, do you mind just
Yeah.
leaving it up for
Yeah,
maybe a
I think I
couple
just,
30
yeah,
seconds?
apologies.
No worries. If everyone here, if anyone here is signed up on the website, which I believe most of you are, the nomadicnetwork.com, you can also just head to Amna's profile, which I just dropped in the chat, so
There it
that
is.
you can find
Apologies.
all of her information too. No worries. And then you can find her on Instagram, Facebook, email, website as well. This is a beautiful picture. I'm
Thank
repeating a
you.
lot of stuff verbally. Some people listen while they're like in the car finishing works and they don't pay attention to the chat. So everything, I'm trying to repeat everything that's in the chat out loud so that, you know, people can hear us if they're not watching us. So
No worries,
awesome.
man.
For the discount for like it's like a one-on-one session with you, correct?
Yes, it'll be for an
Okay.
hour. Yes, ma'am.
How do you want people to reach out to you, via any platform or?
So if they email me,
Okay,
just email me right here, and then I will send back a form that will help me kind of gather some information. It's like a brief questionnaire. I just kind of want to see, like I say, I tell people there's no right or wrong answer. I kind of just want to see where you are in your points and miles journey, where you are just in the whole realm of award travel, kind of get to know a little bit about you. And then I'll get back to you after let's say 2 to 3 days, and then just book a consultation time.
perfect. Love hearing about the process. Okay, great. I dropped that in the chat as well for
Okay,
anyone
perfect.
that is just reading the chat. So, okay, so a lot of the questions were answered in the chat, but I definitely want to go through them again just in
Okay,
case
yeah,
people are not
perfect.
looking. So, and they're a little all over the place, if you don't mind bearing with me. But you
No
know,
worries.
especially on this type of topic, like reinforcement's also good, and we'd love to hear your opinion on it since you're
Sure.
the star here. So April, April had a question. Last time I tried hacking with credit cards, I jacked up my cards and got behind on payments. How do you avoid that? I got a Chase Sapphire and an American Airlines card.
So, what I would say is that whether it's a card you have or whether it's a new card that you get, the very, very first thing I do is I just put them on auto pay. So, I put that on auto pay. If you have a spouse or a loved one that you share that, I also put that in the Apple Wallet, Google Pay. So that way there's just because we're keeping track of so many things, just so we don't fall behind on payments. So that's a great question and great place to start with that.
100%. You can go ahead and unshare your screen,
Okay.
Amna. Yeah, just
Okay.
we love seeing everyone's faces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have something serious to add to that. So I was in a lot of credit trouble a few years back, and now I'm all good. My score has skyrocketed. I've turned my life around. It's 4 years later, right? But because of that, I built a habit. I now pay my cards off every week because I don't ever want to fall into that like dark
Yeah.
hole again. And that's just a personal preference. And that's something that I have to do to discipline my spending. Because I know there's people that say like, oh, you want to keep 10% on so that it can be reported to, or 10% of, your total spent, that it shows so they can report to the credit bureaus. But I'm just like, if I pay it off every month, it's just like too much for me. So everyone has different ways of paying. That's just a little hack for me and how I got myself right a few
Yeah.
years
No, that's
back.
great.
So
I was gonna say every month, but every week if you can do that, that's great.
yeah, every Sunday I like clean slate. That's it. And it also helps me keep track of exactly how much my life costs. So
Yep.
yep.
Yep. That's the first thing, because it's so easy to fall behind on that, especially if you have multiple cards. Because between us two, we have multiple and we have a reason for each one we have. And it's like that's just the very first thing I do is I just put it on auto pay. So it's like I don't want to forget about it, because it happens. I've done it. I've
Mhm.
done it. I've gotten that late payment. I've been that person that's called the bank and say, hey, can you please reconsider and not charge me that late fee? So
Mhm.
I've done it. So
That's always a good tip as well, kind of getting on the phone with customer service. I think that's a very underrated tip, actually.
Yeah, and I
Do
would
you have,
just say, just sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I would say just
no, not at all.
be nice about it. I think
Hmm.
sometimes we forget, and just being nice can go a long way. And I have gotten the fees early on before I was even into travel hacking or serious, forgot, and then just ask, hey, I completely forgot. I'm so sorry. Won't happen again. And they did do it. But yeah, I can't reiterate that enough.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Gabby has a question. Oops. Gabby has a question. How do you optimize what purchases go on what cards? You know, different cards, they have bonus points on different categories, and Gabby's finding it hard to remember what card to use for what. You know, Gabby only carries 2 cards around on the daily. What systems do you have in place to help you manage what to spend on what card?
So I know it might sound kind of silly, but because I've been doing this for so long, I kind of have an idea now that, okay, I know my city premier, it gives me 3 times back on gas,
Mhm.
or I know Capital One, I have to book this cash flight and I know it gives me 5 times back on travel. But it may even be silly just to help you remember. There's I wish I could remember the link, or you can even do it yourself. There are stickers that you can get that you place on your card that helps you say, okay, this is good for dining. So I'm out with friends. Which card should I use? And you don't want to be scrambling. You're about to go pay, right? Like, which card should I use for dining, or which card should I use for gas? You can
Mhm.
simply, I know it sounds so silly saying it, but I've done it. I still do it. Just write it on the card, have a sticker. So every time you're paying gas, you know exactly what card to use. Every time you're dining, you know what card to use. And that starts with also knowing the benefits. So that's
Yes.
assuming
Mhm.
that you know that your Chase might be good for just, okay, 2 times every day purchases or whatnot, or
Mhm.
Capital One gives me every day also 2 times. But I have to remember that for flights that I book or hotels, I can get anywhere from 5 to 10 times back. So first is just knowing your benefits.
Mhm.
After you kind of know and understand, if you just have to have a simple system where you just even label it with a sticker on the card,
Mhm.
that's what I do as well.
Perfect. That's a good system, tried and true, right?
Yeah, because I think sometimes we get so lost in making it more difficult than it has to be, and you don't have to
Mhm.
have all the benefits or everything memorized. I still don't. I still have to go
Mhm.
back and say, okay, well, I have these 2 cards, and I know they're both good in this, but and if they're both good, then you kind of choose, which one you want to use, let's say, or which one you want to continue earning points on. And in
Mhm.
some cases, you might not have a future redemption in mind. You might not have a place in mind. That's fine. Use either your Chase or your city if you don't have any specific kind of redemption that you're working towards, if that makes sense.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, so thank you for that. Cher has a question. How do mileage, like points and miles awards, compare to cashback rewards?
So with cashback, you're limited, right? Like your your points, let's say, like for example, a cashback, you're just going to get like $200 cash back, or even your
Mhm.
points, they'll tell you, hey, you'll get 80,000 points, they can be worth $800, for example. But when I look at those 80,000 points that, let's say, I earned from the city premier, that's actually 5 one-way tickets to Europe, for example, right? And if I look
Mhm.
at the cash price I would be paying for just one way, forget round trip, just one way, that's easily, like, for me, a couple $1,000s because I'm a family of 5. So with cashback, you'll always be limited. But like, if you decide not to redeem for cashback and rather transfer those points to an airline partner, right? You'll get more value just because your points will go further, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
With
Yep,
cashback, you're always capped.
that's very true. All right, good tip there. Okay, so I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. It's either Ali or it's Ali. I've seen them spelt many ways. Has a question. What's the formula for determining if a card will yield more benefits than costs? For example, the well-known Amex Platinum annual fee is actually much higher than 500. It's like 700, I believe. So
695.
how, yeah, so how, and I think they raised that in the past 2 years. So how do you determine if it's a good card for yourself?
So for me personally, it's funny you bring up Amex. I look at the benefits. We're actually not an Amex family, just because I personally feel like I cannot justify the 695 for
Yep.
me. Now I have travel friends who can make use of all those benefits and all those credits. And now it's like the end of the month, right? So everyone's trying to make use of those credits, right? So you can justify, like they have like monthly this credit and dining or
Mhm.
over, whatever it may be. I can't justify that. I've gone through the benefits. I'm like, can I use the Nordstrom credit? I can't, right? I can't, I don't use
Mhm.
that regularly. But Capital One, for example, I have the Capital One Venture X. That fee on that card is $395, right? But they give you a $300 travel credit. So right there, already that's $300. I've already made use of the lounge access a couple of times I've traveled.
Mhm.
When the card first came out, they had a vacation rental credit. I've already used that vacation rental credit, right? My husband traveled for work. With Capital One, for example, he was traveling for work, but because he's that Capital One Venture X card holder, he got a free rental car upgrade. So I can continue listing the ways where it's worked for me. So I kind of first look at the benefits. I look at how and where we spend money, and then I make a decision based on that, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely it does. I just got the Ventrex a few months ago too, and I love it. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's good.
So
Okay.
for me personally, the fee has already made up for itself. So that 395, I've already made it up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Cool. Okay, good way to look at it. Okay, next question from Cheryl Kos. I apologize if I butchered your last name. Do you have tips for, or can you explain what you mean by downgrading the card instead of canceling? Like, what are some ways to do that?
So for example, let's start with, we used to have the Chase Sapphire Reserve.
Mhm.
You can say it compares to Capital One Venture X.
Mhm.
So my husband used to have that recently before we had the Capital One. Now there was a time when we had both, and we're like, okay, we don't need two premium level cards between us, right? We can't justify paying over $600-700 just for two premium. So he didn't close the card. What I had him do, I had him downgrade. Downgrade just means that I look at the no fee option for Chase. So for Chase Sapphire Reserve, there's, let's say, two down. There's like a Chase Freedom, or I'm not sure if that's what that one's available anymore. It's like Chase Freedom Flex is what he downgraded to. So downgrade just means that you're not closing the account, you're not canceling the card, you're simply going to a card, you're moving down to a card that doesn't have an annual fee. So that account still stays open. It doesn't hurt your credit, it doesn't impact your score. And even if you don't end up using that card anymore, you can simply put it away in a drawer somewhere, right? And if you're like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not using anymore. But the main point is that the account is still open. You're just having a card that
Mhm.
doesn't have a fee on it anymore because you can't justify it for whatever reason.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, good to know. I'm just going to add on that real quick since Rachel dropped it in the chat. Rachel wants to know, have you ever downgraded a card twice? Can they combine the two fee-free cards or will you have two?
You'll have two.
Okay.
If I understood the question correctly, you can, when you downgrade, because it's two different accounts, right? So it'll be two
Mhm.
separate cards.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Awesome. I have two more questions here. Thank
Sure.
you so much, everyone, for sticking with us. We have another Cheryl Dulog wants to know, how does travel insurance work on the Chase Sapphire Preferred and Reserve? Can you elaborate? Yeah, let's start with travel insurance.
Travel insurance, yeah. So I guess knock on wood, I haven't had to make use of it. They cover basically, and again, I don't have all the benefits memorized, but it covers up to a certain number of, not people, but I think it's like a certain dollar amount where if your flights were canceled, they'll help you rebook or cover, I think, X amount of, like I said, I don't know what the number is. And the travel protections are more for like flight delays, flight cancellations. I believe there's also some luggage protections as well, if for like misplaced or lost luggage. But I don't have the exact numbers memorized. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Thank you for that. And yes, DM, I did see your question. This will be the last one. And don't worry, everyone, you will get a recording of this presentation by the end of the week. So DM wants to know, how do you make time to sit down and plan for a family of 5? Do you time block a couple hours a month, once a week?
So I guess I'm kind of doing this all the time. Um, because I am a full-time content creator, I am a full-time blogger. So I am doing this all the time and often.
Mhm.
When it comes from my own personal family, what I'm doing helps me, I guess, learn new strategies, learn new tricks, which I can help when it comes to, let's say, consultations or blogs or helping teach others, which is what I really love to do. Because if I can do this, anyone can do this. Like it's, you know, like I said, yeah, I'm doing this all the time. It's also staying in that network or that community, keeping in touch with other travel content creators as well, because I'm always learning something new from them, right? I don't know all the hacks. I don't know all the tips. I can tell you from my respective experience. So I'm always kind of keeping in touch with that community as well.
That's awesome. Yep. If you're full time, I'm sure your wheels are always spinning, and it's so great that you get to do this all day.
Yeah, and I want to just add one additional point is that when it comes to, let's say, like the travel hacking or the points and miles aspect, it's kind of really honing in on your lifestyle, because essentially the money, or your monthly expenses and what you're spending money on, it translates to how much you can kind of put towards travel redemptions, if that makes sense. Because
Mhm.
what your dining costs, your groceries, your streaming services, that can help you get the right cards that will give you the most back for those types of purchases. So it's really, I think it just really, you have to kind of take a step back before you jump into a card or jump into travel hacking, kind of really look at just your overall, can I budget, or where am I spending? How am I spending? What's important to me when I travel? Do I want all the lounge access? Do I care about that? So I think that's
Mhm.
also really important to keep in mind. Because for me, with a family of five, I want TSA pre-check and I want clear and I want the lounges, right? Like all of that. But maybe business class for a family of five, okay, that's probably not a priority to me, right? It's like if I can just
Mhm.
get five economy tickets, I'm happy.
Yep.
So I think it's just
100%.
truly understanding your lifestyle, because that translates to your travel lifestyle as well.
Yes, that's really good. And travel, everyone travels so uniquely, so differently. So
Yep.
it's always good. Awesome. Well, we got a lot of thanks in the chat for this. This was so wonderful. I'm sure we could talk about this for 3 more hours, but I'm
And
gonna
my
let
apologies if I couldn't get to anyone. I did not check the chat at all. So if you guys said something, I hope I was able to cover everything and I didn't miss anything.
No, yeah, that's no, we've covered a lot. And if anyone wants to reach out to Amna, personally, we provided all of her information. I dropped her Nomadic Network profile in the chat as well. So you can just go ahead, and all of her accounts are linked onto her Nomadic Network profile page. So this was so wonderful, and it's chock full of information. Don't forget, everyone, we will send a recording of this, and please reach out to Amna if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one with her. That would be so awesome. Again, Amna, thank you so much. I'm just going to close out with a couple of TNN slides.
Perfect. Yeah.
I mentioned this earlier. If anyone wants to save the chat, because there's tons of great information, you can only do this if you're on desktop. Hit the 3 buttons in
Hmm.
the bottom right corner and then hit save chat, and it will appear in the Zoom folder that's on your computer. So that's super helpful, especially for, you know, presentations that are packed full of info like this. Sometimes you want to look back and go, oh, what did this person say about this topic, etc. So thank you again. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So a few upcoming events. We have a travel souvenir show and tell. This is virtual as well. And how US citizens can legally travel to Cuba. So we have the next few months of events up on the website. You can go ahead there and check it out. Upcoming in-person meetups. Again, these are being added very rapidly. So please go check out nomadicnetwork.com/events. If you're in the Los Angeles area, I am hosting one myself on Thursday, October 20th in downtown LA. So check the website for more information. Book club, this is tomorrow. You do not have to read the book. You don't even have to have opened the book at all to join our book clubs. These are conversations held between Nomadic Matt, and the author of the book. And they're super informative, super entertaining. And we let you ask tons of questions and get really involved as well. So those are exciting. Group tours, nomadicnetwork.com/tours. All of 2023 is posted. So exciting. There's some new locations on there. Costa Rica's a new one. There's Mexico
Hmm.
tours. There's Jordan, Morocco, some countries in the Balkans. It's really exciting. There's Italy on there. So go ahead, check them out. And again, this would not be possible without all of your support. Next time, we'd love to see you and bring a friend. Thank you so much, Nomadic Network community. I hope you all have a wonderful day wherever you are.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you again. It was nice
Thank
speaking to
you.
all
This
of
was
you.
amazing.